So the goal going into the offseason was to run it back. Right? We obviously want to win again and do it with as much continuity as possible. The reality is in MLS, it's really difficult to keep together a contending team. We can spend an hour going into all the salary budget, rules and roster regulations, but we've been trying to walk the right line of keeping the continuity as much as possible, but also having a roster that's sustainable with our league rules.
How difficult has that been?
It's been really hard and painful, I think, as we've all seen in the transactions that we've made. It's not easy. This league punishes teams for having success. So nobody's going to feel bad for us, but it's a real problem.
Mark, merely a money move?
Look, Marky, there's a salary budget, a roster rules component to it, certainly. But it's also a chance for him to secure his future, right? And he's from Southern California. He gets a long-term deal to stay here, so it's a great thing for him and his family, and it does certainly help us on our books.
Was that the decision to deal with a direct rival difficult at all? I know that the team did its best to do right by Marky. There's been reports that him and Sam was trying to sit down roots, but out of the 30 teams, was that the only taker? Was that difficult? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, we always, first and foremost, when we make any move, we're trying to consider what we believe is in the best interest for the club, first and foremost. And back in my days, the Yankees, there were rules about dealing with certain rivals, right? And ultimately, this is a decision that goes through ownership, and if they're okay with it, and we're all collectively agreed that this is what's in the best interest for the club. There's obviously downsides to it from a fan perspective, and you're sending a very good player to a direct competitor, but yeah, that's about as far as it goes. When we believe it makes us a better club overall, we have to pursue everything.
Talk a little bit about Jorgensen.
About who?
Jorgensen?
Oh yeah, Zanka. No, a very experienced defender. Has national team experience, a champion in the Danish league, his Premier League experience. I think it's another a veteran piece who can come in, help lighten the load for some of our defenders. We're going to have a crush of games this year between Champions League, the Campeones Cup, and again, just bring in experience, quality, position is always something that we look forward to.
Center?
Center back, yeah.
How long have you been looking at him?
He's been around on different radars for a long time. He knows our technical director, Mikkel Denscher, well from the time in Copenhagen. But I've gotten a number of calls from sporting directors across the league saying, "Man, we've been watching Zanka for a long time. We tried to get him in the past." So he's a guy who's had a really good MLS profile for a long time.
You brought up Mikkel Denscher. How much was that relationship critical to getting the signing of the line?
Yeah, I mean, Mikkel, it's always good to have a personal relationship, right? But it's also an instance where you have to then kind of explain how the league works, the rules, and that's not, Mikkel's still learning that also. So, but certainly it's great to have the direct line, but there's still a negotiation to it. It's still got to make sense for the the player and all parties. But Mikkel has helped, and not just with Zanka, but with all our off-season moves.
Sanabria?
We're progressing really well. I wouldn't say anything definitive yet, but I'm feeling confident that we're in a good way.
Do you have a feel for time on that?
Hopefully sooner rather than later. Just I think we're in the
within weeks
stages.
As opposed to within a month.
I would say I certainly hope it's on the sooner side.
Okay. President Uruguay bills him as a volante mixto, which basically means he can play the 6 or the 8. What kind of profile do you see from him? Where do you see him fitting in?
Yeah, I think we see him as a box-to-box player, a guy who's going to work really hard. He's really respected by his teammates down there, even at a young age. He's been part of the Uruguayan youth national team setup, but we think he's going to come in and cover a lot of ground, really help us in the way we want to build. I think, again, this is something that comes directly from Greg, right? But he fits really well into the way we want to play as a club.
Any questions on Zoom? Charles, Monica? Okay, Monica, go ahead.
Monica might be muted.
Monica, you're muted.
Perdón. Hola Will, ¿cómo estás? Te saluda Mónica Delgado de PasaFiltrado.com. Ese día se notifica la renovación del defensa Eric Zabaleta. ¿Qué tanto aporta este jugador a la institución más ganadora de la MLS como es LA Galaxy?
Eric es un jugador muy importante para nosotros, con su experiencia no solo en la liga, pero compitiendo en internacional con El Salvador. Y también él sabe muy bien nuestra filosofía, cómo somos como un club, ha sido mucho tiempo con nuestro cuerpo técnico y es como un entrenador en el vestuario. Entonces, muy importante para nosotros a renovarle y estamos muy orgullosos de tenerle acá por otra temporada.
And one last question for Josh. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Will, hope you can hear me. Just looking at the overall build of the roster, obviously you had Dejan Joblic timing out of his U22, you had Gabriel Peck timing out of his young DP. That puts some pretty heavy cap pressure on you. Do you feel like you guys have, with all the moves you made, sort of ease that cap pressure, or are you still, I guess every team should be right up against it. Where do you feel that you're at?
Yeah, we're still up against it. I think, obviously the moves we made put us in a really good spot. Probably a few other things we'll explore. Again, it's balancing the budget reality with trying to make our roster as strong as possible. But I would say fairly complete, but not done yet.
With Peck, with players who are going to gain interest, do you feel safe that you've got them for this year? The window's still open in Europe for another, week and a half, 2 weeks?
I'm very much a Murphy's Law kind of guy. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So our job is to prepare for everything, right? For every player to be gone. What does that mean if he leaves now, if he leaves in the summer, if he leaves next year? No plan ever goes according to plan, but we have to be prepared for all potential scenarios.
Are there any conversations going on with clubs right now for Peck?
I wouldn't say.
We saw a picture of Ricky recently, the difference in his right leg and his left leg. Obviously, he's in recovery mode. Do you have any more context or any more details on what he's going through his recovery, maybe?
Yeah, no, Ricky's progressing really well. He's in constant contact with our training staff here. One of our trainers, Luciano Tavares, was over in Barcelona with him this past week. So, important that he knows we're thinking about him, but we're keeping close tabs on it. And yeah, these early days are really hard. Ricky's got a great mentality. He's hungry to get back, and he's attacking his rehab really aggressively.
When do you expect him back here at the training night here? Or will that not be?
It's a little dependent on sort of how he's progressing, but there's a general kind of feel is that when he's ready to return to on-field activity, that's the right time for him to be back.
You answered the question, Monica, on Zavaleta. Maybe you could, those of us who don't speak Spanish, give us a little bit.
No, we just talked about re-signing Eric,
Yeah.
and Monica asked about his importance, and I just said that Eric's incredibly important for us, with his experience both in the league, but in CONCACAF internationally, his familiarity with the technical staff's way of playing and club philosophy, and he's like a coach, a second coach in the locker room.
Yeah, the locker room element, I was thinking was one of the best. He's a real glue guy.
Absolutely.
The team just recently
Also
made
the best quote on the team.
the team just recently made 4 homegrown signings, doing good work in bringing academy players through. Can you talk to us about that academy pipeline and maybe what it signals to young players in the academy, maybe getting shot with the first team?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. And if you look at training the sidelines today, you get to see a bunch of those guys in the mix in this first week of camp, right? So that's been really important for us. And I think what's also really good to keep in mind is that the signings today are reflective of the work that's happened over the past 3 years, right? So it's not like we did a really good job yesterday and we signed these guys today. No, this is the product, I think, of a shift in our academy and focus on development. And it is the first time it's showing up. It's certainly not the end, right? So there's been a lot of consistent work in between then and now. And so we're really excited about this group of guys coming through, but also really bullish on the future.